Good day, members of the Government Member Pension Forum. It is a pleasure once again for the Center for Financial Wellness to engage with you, communicate with you, and share in playing its part in improving our financial condition once again. Our topic for today is around personal financial management, looking at the idea without getting into numbers, facts, figures, and the like, but just talking to it, members, at the level of appreciating what it is about, what is it that we ought to note, and what is it that we can take out from an engagement such as this one. By no means, members, do we undermine what you know, and we believe that you are well aware of some of the concepts that we may touch. But however, the financial challenges tell us that as a Center for Financial Wellness, such engagements need to be continuous, which is why we are having this session today and just addressing personal financial management as an idea from a financial wellness perspective. Presenting to you today is Mr. Mfanesbili Ndlovu, the Executive Head of the Center for Financial Wellness. We're looking forward to a fruitful presentation that will be informative and certainly help you members in your endeavors as we navigate the working world and as we try and achieve financial stability. Indeed, sit back as we had highlighted and enjoy and absorb as much as possible. We guarantee that certainly after this presentation you will be an information or two better than you were tuning in. By way of disclosure, it is important, members, that we highlight as a Center for Financial Wellness that we are not a financial service provider, nor are we linked to any financial service provider, whether it be an insurer, asset manager, or retirement fund, either as employees, directly or indirectly. So we do not represent any financial institution. We just represent the center as itself, and not as a financial service provider, but an information hub that provides factual information and publicly can relate to and actually see it improve our daily financial lives. However, where necessary and where required, members, we can highlight that you may, through the center, depending on the level of engagement, be referred to independent financial advisors or debt counselors who form part of the panel. And we must emphasize and stress that all that we'll highlight here, as you said, whether guidance, opinions, or proposals, these are for information purposes, and please do not construe them as advice as contemplated in the phrase Act. In that regard, we, as the center, shall not be liable for any damage or loss suffered result from any action taken by anyone based on this presentation. So I think it is important to get that housekeeping out the way and emphasize that no, we are indeed not a financial service provider and do not purport to be one. However, our role is key as a Center for Financial Wellness in the financial services discourse and how it relates to us at an individual level. We did introduce ourselves, of course, as a center in the previous month of February, members, but just to give a sense and idea of our objectives and what you're about as a center, is that this is an information hub, an empowerment forum that seeks to engage members below the ages of 54 going downwards, in the sense that we are about promoting preservation of retirement benefits and indeed continuous education around alternatives that would ensure that preservation of retirement funds is achieved, whether it be debt counseling and consolidation, financial planning, retirement planning and preparedness, depending on each individual's circumstances. Now, it's important that we highlight this, members, to have you appreciate the context in which the Center for Financial Wellness shall and does relay content, particularly at the level of ensuring that whatever information is available, whatever is available, whether it be products, whatever is available, whether be it service providers, they all benefit you, the individual. And now, in this instance, we are deliberate to say, having observed the trend of members below this age category resigning on the back of financial challenges, we took a step back to say, hang on, I think challenges as they may or may be alive, they shouldn't have a shift away from intended objectives of retirement benefits. Hence, the need to continuously encourage preservation because we believe that there are alternatives, depending on circumstances, that can ensure that at least at a certain level we achieve preservation. Now, do bear in mind, members, that in my introduction I did highlight that we are looking at personal financial management as an idea, and without really getting into your pockets, without really getting into your wallets and thinking facts and figures, we believe it is important to just grasp the idea so that we then able to move along as we engage continuously. And by no means, as we've previously highlighted, that these are once-off sessions. There's plenty of time to unpack things in detail. So please do have that in mind as we engage on this topic today. And really, what does personal financial management involve? Obviously, it's about managing finances and to achieve certain life goals, depending on respective circumstances of individuals. And it looks at combining all the work-life aspects to achieve financial stability. And basically, this is saying, members, nothing can be left out from what comes to the hands at the end of the month in the form of a remuneration, whether it's debt, whether it's saving, whether it's living expenses that may need to be catered for. So it's a combination of all those things that need to be cut up and be accommodated from that income. So already you are getting that sense that it's not just about money in, money out. It's an involved process that requires me, you as an individual, hence personal financial management, to really zoom in on our personal finances at a detailed level. What is interesting, members, you'll note, we manage resources so well at organizational level. We stick to budget, we monitor spending and all that. And all this concept is saying at a personal level is just apply that personally. But again, this is just throwing this there as a thought and something to really think about. It involves also considering short-term and long-term plans and really understanding that short-term decisions definitely may impact long-term plans. So already this is saying I must sit down. I can't assume things. I can't go by what the average person is doing. I need to understand myself and plan accordingly. And obviously, long-term plans also equally may influence how short-term needs are managed. If I've got big long-term plans, sacrifices must be made in the short term. Likewise, if I've got big long-term plans, sacrifices must be made also in the short term. So it's a combination of all these things as an idea. This is what personal financial management involves. Definitely, it's about managing finances. Whose finances? Your finances at an individual level, and balancing work-life aspects to achieve financial stability or financial wellness. And obviously, considering the short-term and long-term plan. Again, as I've highlighted members, this is not new, but I think the emphasis is very important for the Center for Financial Wellness for some of these things to keep popping up so that we understand. So these are just examples of when we talk short-term needs, what exactly are we looking at, and looking at a journey of our work life. What is it that we wish or intend to achieve? Now, short term, you're talking your living expenditure, education, travel, daily commutes, housing, and the like. But summarize, it obviously does touch on budgeting, a topic that we tedious, takes time. It's not something that we feel we ought to do. And again, it goes back to what I highlighted earlier on to say if we do this so well at an organizational level, we need to get into the habit of applying this at a personal level. And obviously, so budgeting and efficient debt management in the short term will equal to better long term outcomes, whether it's retirement, whether comes a time where employment ends. Because one of the other things, critical things around personal financial management members that we need to appreciate is that in some instances, not all, in your case, we assume continuity, but at a general level, while it's good to think and plan for retirement, the truth is, we need to plan and think about the next month, the next year, and the like, because we've seen retrenchments, we've seen downsizing, we've seen all those things that can happen. So, what if retirement doesn't come and a situation like that comes? Am I ready? Will I be able to navigate and move along? So, this is what we mean when we talk budgeting, efficient debt management, so long as to ensure better long term outcomes. Obviously, the one we wish for and want is to talk and think about life beyond retirement. However, what we can highlight here at a personal level and practically is that one of the things to consider and look at a long term level is that there is a need to think and identify additional income sources, which may come in various forms: dividend income, interest income, business income, depending on what interest each individual. Now, again, this is not something that is assumed. A individual situation will tell you where you may be falling short, and actually your expenditure cannot be adjusted and maybe needs additional support at an income level, so that may be done. So all this is part of long-term engaging and looking at opportunities to try and improve that process. And of course, retirement planning is part of long-term planning. And at a practical level, looking at improving your replacement ratio, because again, this can be a practical process wherein benefit statements are issued. We understand what the benefit position is at a particular time. Make those scenarios. Understand when this situation at a lifestyle level. So improve that. And I mean, we've also through this center highlighted that replacement ratios are quite low for most, anything between the 20s and 30%. Or it is a deliberate process. Estate planning is also part of long-term needs. Not a comfortable area for most to engage around, but certainly one that is important and needs to be put into consideration. Hence, we highlight it and say it's under continuous consideration. Look at your situation. We grow, we do all sort of things that change, that warrant that consideration is given to estate planning. Of course, there's no one size fits all. Also, there's no off the shelf sort of solution, but there are certain things to sort of think around as principles that will stand, and everything else has to be informed by then how we fit everything to that plan. And obviously, earning capability will determine how to plan. And I think members would have heard this and shouldn't tire to hear, the phrase or the saying where we are often encouraged to spend less than earning. Because it happens that on a month to month, uh, if not accountable or not in the habit of monitoring or budgeting, expenses easily exceed income. And if not monitored, because funding is available, whether through debt and other means, it's often not easy to quickly catch how far above I'm spending what I'm actually able to earn. But again, if I earn a certain amount, all obligations have to be met within that earning capability. So whether it's debt repayment, whether it's living expenses, whether it's standing obligations, whether so everything I need to understand has to happen within that income, and that and that only, unless that is obviously also taking into account additional sources as and when we progress and we move. Again, planning is continuous and has to be reviewed and will change and may change because the life changes. People get into the workplace as single, they marry, their children. Those are added responsibilities that come that require certain adjustments or improvements in certain instances at a financial level. And income changes also that require a certain level of consideration and engagement. There's increments, there's bonuses, people change jobs for various reasons. So all those changes affect how. So it's a living process. So personal financial management is not a once-off event. It's something that carries right through the work life because at any point in time, whenever there's a change, certainly adjustments need to be made. If we were to expand on this, life changes. There's also living expenditure changes. There's homes to be built, houses to be constructed, cars to be purchased. All those things feed into and play into how the earning capability determines what I can afford and all those things that actually come with that. So it's important to appreciate that members that whilst as we capture the idea, number one, as we appreciate that there's the short term and the long term to think about, let's appreciate also that the process will always be unique to each individual because the needs are not the same for for each one, and how we progress will also not be the same. For example, you may have people in the same income bracket, but one that is single will not plan similarly to someone that has a family. So things like that. This is what we're trying to highlight at an idea level to say, okay, these are the sort of things to think about as we progress, and how do we then manage them in a way that we are efficient and are able to cover all bases that are required. Again, changes may come, sometimes negative, sometimes positive, and depending on the need, it could be a case of increase in income, which is good, of course, or negatively increase in expenditure, with income not moving an inch, but finding oneself with expenditure that is necessary, not even at the level of, is it luxury, is it need or wants, and all those debates that come with that. But it's just to have you appreciate that, again, it doesn't happen on assumption. These are lived realities and experiences, and I must understand what an increase in income means to me financially and what an increase in expenditure means to me if income does not move and doesn't change. And obviously, encouraging members to plan for their money, and it's encouraged that we are to be proactive. Don't wait for events to happen. Plan ahead. Think, how best can I position myself? I need this. How best can I move towards achieving that? And also with that, it helps to also bring reality to a situation. Again, going back to the earning capability point, it's just that if earning capability is saying 10,000, it's saying 10,000. Now I must make the best of what that is. I'm just making an example, not to really get into a debate of what is more and what is enough. I know this is what I'm earning. I must be proactive. This is what I need to do. This is how I will borrow. This is what I can afford. This is how I'll approach things. And also, I must be realistic. Realistic in the sense that, again, reports have showed, you may have picked this in one of the articles that were shared, that one of the challenges in around living expenditure is the consumerism culture, which the need to consume, buy instead of uh, thinking, saving, and investing. And not to say it's wrong, but you then look at the destruction that it leads others to, because if not monitored, if we do not become realistic that I cannot not afford this, I need to be patient in order to afford this. We then get into the level of being overexposed at a debt level, and I think the stats are all for that to see what then becomes. But this is to encourage us again, to prompt us to think and ensure that we don't fall into the pits that we've seen others falter, and we correct some of the mistakes and improve on a continuous basis. Set goals and attach value to them. Am I saving? What am I saving for? It shouldn't be, it's good to save, but with the goal attached, it makes it easier to want to work towards that, to achieve that, and exercise discipline also to a certain degree. I need to get some attached value. If I need to take that to achieve certain things, I must appreciate what I'm getting in return, and also, don't have that don't leave that open-ended target to finish settling those debts and not just revolve and have open-ended. So, again, this is what we mean by understanding the changes within the personal financial management context. And this one is important, members, that we need to know ourselves. You need to know yourself. Your financial status to raise awareness around as the Center for Financial Wellness is that if at any point resignation has been considered a solution to solving financial problems, it's important to note that that's an indicator already that there is no financial stability. So that is telling me that even before getting to reviewing, if I've contemplated that I'm out of options, I need to resign to access money to solve my challenges. Already, that is saying there's no stability there. What do I do? Take stock, and obviously get to a stage where one is able to explore options and overnight. But chances are, or it goes without saying, expenses far exceed income, and serious cases of over indebtedness. It is said you miss one or two installments, already that's an indicator of over indebtedness. It could be it could be one, maybe just justified for one reason or another, but we know, and the stats show that looking at the number of people or the level of over indebtedness, uh, that is a challenge where it then leads to resignation being considered as a solution or a way out of the problems. And again, to emphasize here, there could be merit, it could be justified, but it has to be informed by a thorough process because if that would be were to be the case, what are the answers that to the questions after? Get the money, solve the problem. What then happens after? What happens to the income that we forego now because we've resigned, which would have been continuous? So all those sort of conversations come up at the review and determine financial status level, which then leads us to the next point as a center to say, uh, if at any point resignation has been considered, whether whether that we need to make some financial adjustments or sitting down with an independent financial advisor. But it's just to say, let it go through a process before it be clear cut to say, no, resignation is the way out, there is no other way. Because it's again to that point, and maybe to mention it now, that beyond preservation of the benefit, which is the long term, also we need to consider preserving the income that we forego if we resign. While we may access a lump sum today, now we forego having continuous income thereafter. We may have this lump sum, we don't know how long it will last us, but we would have addressed the problem. So that is what this tends to cover and looks at when we say encourage, explore options. Have exhausted, have I reviewed, am I adamant that resignation is the only way I may be, but subjected to a thorough process and at least be content that all bases are covered at the level of financial stability and wellness. But from as a center, our position is clear that ours is to encourage preservation, and definitely those members that touch through or go through our processes post the normal educational sessions and the like, we want to go at all out to try and ensure that the benefit is preserved and explore all available options in order to ensure that the objective is achieved. So if we could help it, actually, we would want to see within the targeted age group to see less and very close to zero resignations, as it were, as a result of responding to financial challenges. Obviously, again, this is just to help them say there is a problem if I'm considering, resignation. How do I then move forward and try? And obviously, the target is to say I must deliberately and be deliberate, target to improve savings and investments. And this is not to say start big, do at a once-off level, build up gradually. There's a magic again. Just do it, attach a value to them, set goals and attach value to them. That we know, so long as there's children, there's education to consider specific projects. Could be housing, could be business, whatever the case may be. But all you are saying, yeah, is that again, it's procedure debt because debt is available, is accessible, is promoted, and it's there. So it's on us to ensure that we efficiently manage, we use it to our advantage, and not the other around, where it then becomes a burden. We start spending more than half of our incomes on repayments. So it's important to track affordability and debt exposure. What can I afford? How far can I go? Am I still within at the level of debt to income exposure? Often values that are thrown around your 33%, your 30%, and the likes. Affordability also. And important to note here is that affordability will always reflect the maximum, but it may not be always what you need. So again, this is where discipline needs to kick in, knowing yourself, knowing the path you've laid out for yourself, so that you are able to track and actually measure accordingly. And obviously, another measure of efficiently managing is reducing and settling debts at every opportunity. So come out the trap of revolving credit at all times. That is important to note and highlight members so that we are able to move and progress and really enjoy the fruits of our toils at the level of we've worked. Come month end, money comes in. Let's enjoy. Enjoying doesn't mean spending always. Enjoying may is the ability to save, is the ability to pay your debts and still be able to fund living expenses than earning an income, settle debts, and finding yourself having to borrow again to fund the rest of your obligations. So I think it's important to highlight that. Now, at the level of a few questions that may pop up, again, you will note I've highlighted earlier on that today was just to talk the idea, plant certain thoughts, things provoke certain thinking, and approach and outlook altogether. At least at the level of saying, look, at some point things get tough, and we get caught in the question of saying, do I resign? Do I cash? Do I take my money and go? Fair. Those questions will come up, and tough situations push us to those corners. But be that as it may, I think overall, in grasping the idea, it's important to acknowledge the emphasis on preservation, preservation, preservation. And paying attention to preservation will not only also, in a way, helps improve the short term sort of situation in a way that all sides sort of benefit eventually. Now, just looking at some quick questions that may pop up. One of them, talking to personal financial management, is that under the current economic environment, is it possible to meet all financial obligations with one source of income? At face value, again, because we're just talking general here, I'll go back to say, again, individual circumstances may differ. You may find for some it may be sufficient, for some not. But looking at the current conditions, your inflation, increased living costs, and everything that comes with that, and looking at the slow level of growth at the level of income, uh, for most, it is becoming evidently clear that one source of income is not sufficient. Also, if you look at the debt exposure, that also confirms that one source of income is not enough. And also, last but not least, looking at the need of wanting to withdraw early, resign and cash benefits to address financial problems, also is an indicator that, one source of income may not be enough. What could be the second? That could be up for debate. Again, it's up to individual. But for most. Question number two: is it possible to navigate through work life without taking on a certain level of debt? In answering this one, members, I'll approach it this way to say, as I've been talking, as you've been listening, it may come across or it may sound as if CFW is promoting and saying we shouldn't take on debt, or presenting as if we can't take on debt. We can confirm that it's definitely not possible. There is a certain level of debt that may be required to be taken, housing, cars. Obviously, these are not things that can be purchased, out of pocket. However, what the caution here is that it must be efficiently managed. Understand affordability and also understand the level of exposure to income at the level of monthly or recurring monthly repayments, and also understanding that my balance is reducing as I continue. So, to a certain degree, some sort of debt will be required at some point, but again, should be done within affordability limits, and also avoid the trap of being caught in revolving credit and the like. And obviously, without getting into detail, the good debt versus bad debt, again, that is personal, but at a level of talking principle, I think it's simple. Your payslip or your income capability will tell you what you can afford. Remember, what you can afford, not what you need, and also your level of exposure and other needs, actually, will say how far you can actually go. Do not be quick to commit without taking into consideration other needs. Question number three. It is widely reported that there's a high number of over indebted employees. Is there a way out? Maybe the question you may have there, member, other than resignation. Are they ever fully rehabilitated? Are we wasting time talking preservation and try to rehabilitate? Is there a way out? This is what this question is asking. Yes, there is a way out. However, do not be fooled, members. And also, I will not mislead you into thinking that there's an easy way out and there's a quick way out. This process requires commitment, it requires patience, and yes, there is a way out, and you can turn around the situation. Yes, people do rehabilitate those that commit to the process, because it is a process, and we say this on the back of the fact that we do have through the NCR, the National Credit Regulator, your debt counselors, people that actually do this work. So at a high level, that confirms that already. However, I think it's important to appreciate it in the context of what we are trying to salvage here. So yes, there is a way out. So hang on, maybe I shouldn't resign. Do I ever rehabilitate? Yes, they do. So in answering this, I'm looking at options that will say I'm able to preserve my retirement benefits. Also, I'm able to rehabilitate my current income back to a level where it becomes sustainable again, it provides stability, and I'm able to live. So I shouldn't be losing on both sides because of a situation like this. Lose out on my long-term benefits and lose out on my short-term benefit being the income that I'm earning anyway within my working life. Last but not least, is it important to have a financial advisor or planner as a working professional? The simple answer is yes. There may be justifications for others why not. And again, it goes to understanding. I think the ethics involved, different experiences, the costs involved. and bad experiences from others, which have made others to shy away from getting closer or employing the services of a financial advisor or a planner. I think the long and short of it, I think the simple answer was yes, so that takes care of that. Is then having the tools to be able to weigh the advisor or planner suitable to your needs. But I think universal norms, obviously, are that you'd want to deal with an advisor that is in good standing, that is authorized by the Financial Services Conduct Authority, not only authorized but registered. I mean, the other professional bodies like your financial planning institutions, that some of these planners and advisors sit with, but that's at an extreme. But at the basic level, there is a need for someone that you can bounce off one or two ideas before actually making a decision, and that could be the difference between saving the present and the future actually at the same time. But questions to ask obviously are experience, how long have you been working, and also advisors differ. They've got different. Some have different strengths in different areas, so you may get an answer for a particular question on one and on another from another. So there are planners that are all rounders, but it's very rare to have someone that covers all those. But at the level of what we are talking about, certainly, at the level of contemplating, just to bounce off, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking. Certainly, an advisor would be useful, which is why, as the Center for Financial Wellness, we are developing a panel of vetted professionals, financial advisors that, depending on the level of engagement, some of our members may choose to be assisted through our center, through the processes I'll explain just now. At least that way we know that we have those vetted anyway. But we do not compel, obviously, members to go through us. But it's just to say, yes, it is important as we progress, as we grow, and as the changes take place, life changes, income changes, lifestyle changes, and all the like, because that feeds into the work that should be done. Now, as I move towards concluding, it's just to highlight again the center, our process, and how we work. Firstly, we are big on education. I've touched on that. Empowerment, education, education, education. Presentations through such as this one. Others could be arranged on site and the like. Newsletters, publications, some shared through the government pension member forum. So education is very much key. Then at the level of administration, you could have members expressing interest of service, where we then talk, data capturing, know your client, KYC information, know your status report, and we do this through a third-party administrator, community stakeholder services. So it's quite a neat process that follows. And when we present the report to the member, it's just to say this is the status, this is how it looks financially, this is how you stand, this is what you need to do, and all the like. And it's up to the member to decide whether they want to proceed and manage themselves, or the center can assist through approved financial service providers at the level of now implementation. And again, implementing for the purpose of ensuring that benefits are preserved and all possible options have been explored that can ensure that resignation is put aside and short-term solutions are found in order to address the financial challenges. These are the contact details of Community Stakeholder Engagement Services. And the key contact there is Mr. Emmanuel Mubali. That is the email address. If you have any query around the center, we're able to then address that through our administrator. And the email is emmanuel@camili.org.za. And the contact numbers are those listed on the slide, which you can reach out, and whether you want to get more information, you want to get clarity, we are available to share that. So we will continue to engage at a general level through a platform such as this one. But we certainly, as the year progresses, we will be getting closer, on site on certain occasions. But not only that, also extending now to practicalizing what we actually talking about at the level of your know your status reports, and just appreciating the status, because we really believe there's good intention in ensuring that, and not only good intention, there's benefit in ensuring that benefits are preserved and at least not used to address financial challenges in the short term. And let me emphasize again, members, that I think the target here is deliberate, to say if at any point there's been contemplation to say, I'm seriously challenged financially, and we know in most instances it's debt, but we don't want to assume that until a report reveals that. Then from there on, the process would then run insofar as ensuring that the outcomes are then implemented and we're able to achieve all objectives, because it's a win-win situation actually, because if you can preserve, it means you've addressed the short term, and there's financial stability going forward, such that by the time you get to the retirement brackets, whether early or normal, the benefit is substantial, and there's something that you can be proud of, and really take that home too. So, yeah, that is what the center is about. And to sum it up and close it, I introduced myself, but just to give comfort around the subject matter, I have a CIPM, Chartered Institute of Business Management Certificate, that counseling program with the Institute of Bankers, a postgraduate diploma in management retirement funds, and have and continue to be active in the retirement to date. So it is always a pleasure to engage and share and talk around such subjects with you members, and we trust and hope that you find them useful. And until we engage again, we thank you for giving us your ear and your time. Thank you.